In this video, we will make 5 different Valentine card designs just using watercolors. You will need your watercolors. I am using these by Winsor Newton Cotman, some brushes, some kind of watercolor palette or a plate. You will need a cat, your watercolor paper and something to measure, a pencil, scissors or scalpel to cut the watercolor paper to size, something to put your water in, and optionally you can also use a toilet paper roll. So let's get started. First, prepare the paper. If you don't have a scalpel and cutting mat, you can cut the paper with scissors. I took pages from an A4 watercolor sketchbook. Then I cut them in half and removed the perforated part. This gave me 2 A5 sheets. Mark the center of the long side with a pencil and then using a ruler, run the blunt side of scissors over it a few times. This will make the paper easy to fold. Finally, erase the marks. You can tape the paper to your working surface with washi tape to make it easier to work on. For the first card, prepare the paints on a plate. This works best if you have watercolors in tubes, but if you only have paints in pans, make sure to wet them properly and wait a moment before transferring the paints to the plate with a brush. Try to make sure the paints on the plate are very concentrated. The plate must also have enough flat surface to fit the edge of the toilet paper roll. Press one side of the paper roll between your fingers and bend the other side to form a heart shape. Put the edge of the roll onto the palette with the prepared paint and then press it onto the paper. Leave enough space next to it to fit another heart. If you don't have a paper roll, you can paint the heart with a thin brush. Dip a clean brush in water and pull the paint from the edges of the heart toward the center. Leave white spots on one side for reflection. If the color of your heart is too light, add more paint while it is still wet. If necessary, add more paint to the palette and press the edge of the paper roll into it again. Then fill the heart as you did before. Repeat the process until you are satisfied with the number of hearts. Paint this little thingy on the bottom of the hearts to make them look like balloons. Then make the strings with a thin brush and you're done. To make the washi tape easier to peel off, blow on it with a hairdryer. For the next card, first sketch the shape of a heart on the paper. Find the approximate center of the paper and draw the shape of a heart from there. You can use a pencil or watercolor crayon for this. Next, dip your brush in light pink or light red paint and fill in the heart. To make the color light, make sure to dilute your paint with a lot of water. Then let the paint dry or use a hairdryer to speed up the process. Using a slightly darker color, paint a spiral on the heart. Start in the center and work your way outwards. The spiral should gradually get slightly larger. After the spiral dries, dip your brush in a darker color and start painting the rose petals from the center towards the edges. Unfortunately, I forgot to film the beginning, but they will gradually get bigger and the spiral will serve as a guide. Use a slightly lighter color to paint shadows Finally, you can darken the petals in the center if you wish. Draw the shape of the heart again with a pencil. Erase it so that it is barely visible. Mix some green paint. Start painting smaller leaves and stems around the pencil line. Space them out more or less evenly. Try different leaf shapes. Dip your brush in the color of the blossom, for example red. Then paint the blossom. You can try a slightly different color for the next blossom, for example orange. While it is still wet, you can add a bit of red for an interesting effect. Finish all of the flowers. Then fill in the empty spaces with lots of small blossoms. For better contrast, you can choose a completely different color. Continue like this until the entire heart shape is complete. Once everything is dry, erase the rest of the pencil. Using a ruler, you can then draw a line with the pencil and write something inside. For example, the name of the recipient of your card. Once the writing is dry, erase the pencil again and you're done. This is probably the simplest Valentine card tutorial of all of them. First, draw a larger heart with a pencil. Then prepare pink, blue, purple and possibly black watercolor paint. You want it to be quite liquid and concentrated. If you only have watercolor in pens, make sure to wet them first with water and wait a bit. Using a clean, damp brush, fill in the heart so that it has a nice, even sheen, just as you can see in the video. You can check it by looking at the heart from the side. If you see a dry spot, run a wet brush over it. If you have a puddle of water somewhere, gently remove it with a brush. And if the heart is too wet, wait a bit. Put aside or cover things that you don't want to get splashed, because from here on, things will get a bit messy. Dip the brush in one of the colors and then flick the bristles against your finger. Gradually dip the brush in different colors and make splashes on the paper until a colored heart emerges on the paper. If you missed a dry spot somewhere, moisten it with a brush. For a more interesting effect, you can sprinkle the heart with regular table salt while it is still wet. Once the painting has dried, simply remove the salt. And you're done! At the end, you will probably have to clean your work area, but since it's just watercolor, clean water will suffice. For the last card, draw a heart on the paper with a pencil. Dip the brush in green paint. Place 2 larger leaves inside the tip of the heart. Then paint several leaves inside. Some will follow the outline of the heart, others will be more in the center. Using a clean brush, place random spots of water inside. Try to make them more or less round in shape. Then add paint to the spots. I used red and yellow and fill in the small gaps with yellow spots. Once everything is dry, dip a smaller brush in a darker color and paint the outlines of the flowers. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Just finish the flowers according to what the blotches remind you of. For me, sometimes they were roses and other times poppies. Finally, you can add darker green lines to the leaves. If you want, add stems as well. If a little bit of paint gets outside of the heart, wipe the area several times with a clean, damp brush until the stain disappears. Dip the brush in between in clean water. Once dry, erase the pencil, and you're done! And here are all the Valentine's Day cards we painted today. Let me know in the comments which ones would you like to make, or which ones would you like to receive?
So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to keep this channel growing, and see you next time.